Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated, and by Landmark Self-Storage in Leominster. www.landmarkselfstorage.com.
Hello, and welcome to Inside Leominster with Dean Mazzarella. Dean's on assignment tonight, so you're stuck with me, Carl Piermarini. I'm the Executive Director of Leominster Access Television, and we will try to get through this program without help from Dean, but I don't know. He may try to call in from his whereabouts. He's on assignment. I think what his assignment might be is I asked him if he could roast some chestnuts for me, and so he might be home doing that. I'm not sure, but you know, chestnuts roasting on an open fire goes right with the season, so he might be doing that. So anyway, I think we have a call, and for those of you who are regulars of this show know that every time the show begins, we get a call from Art Bartlett. Let's see who's on the line.
Yes, he is.
It's Art Bartlett.
Yes.
On the phone from Leominster.
Snowed in.
So what's going on, Art? How you been?
I've been great. You, I hope. Well, I believe it. I saw something yesterday going down Route 13. I didn't think I'd ever see it in my life. There was a massive traffic jam.
Right.
One lane was open, and that was the lane headed towards Lunenburg.
Yep.
I looked up, and there was a crane, and it had to be 100 foot long.
Wow.
Up into the air.
Yep.
And there was no bucket on it, but there was a guy sitting in a sling, and he was a tree guy. And I have never seen this, and he was swaying in the breeze, trying to get close to taking down this humongous tree from a house that sits way in the back on 13.
Are you serious? Did you happen to snap a picture of it?
No,
Oh.
I wish I had.
That would have been something to see.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm not exaggerating on the 100 feet either. I was kind of guessing. I said, no, there's 40 feet, 40 feet. And when I first looked at it, I never saw a human, and all of a sudden I picked up this little thing up in the sky, and then I look over, and down on the ground, they've already got a stump there. I couldn't put my arms around it. That's how big it was.
Right.
And they were lifting it up with this machine. And obviously, they're taking the tree down, the whole thing. And that's why the traffic was, the crane was so big, it had the legs sticking out.
Wow.
And they had plywood on the legs that were balancing it. And it was a big piece of equipment, biggest I've ever seen.
You know, there's always these complaints about the traffic, you know, in certain areas of Leominster. But they got to understand these improvements should hopefully work out to the better. We just have to bear with it for a while until the improvements happen.
And you know, I looked at my clock because I was on my way to an appointment. And I sat there for about 3.5 minutes because they were clearing out all the traffic coming up towards Whalum.
Right.
Once that cleaned out, then we went right through in downtown, and off we went. But it was amazing to see. I was in awe. And I said to myself, Mister, it looked like a rescue from a helicopter in a Coast Guard when there's somebody sitting in a,
wow.
You know, they strap him in, and no basket. This guy was just hanging in a sling with his legs between the sling, and he was up there with a chainsaw. It was amazing.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that would have been good. You know, we have to assign you an official LTV camera so that when you see these things, you can videotape it for us and send us the file, you know, and we can show it. You can be our man on the street.
First update is what we would have. And I have one more statement. I'd like to say that I saw a whole bunch of crows down at Market Basket, and I couldn't figure out what it was till I saw Luke Connery with two baskets of chicken livers coming out of the store, full. Typical Luke Connery. That's a joke at him, of course. But I did run into him.
You know, I got to ask you, Art. You know, Dean roasts these chestnuts every year at the stroll and stuff. Have you ever tasted them? Do you eat chestnuts?
No, I don't. But my daughter's father, my daughter's husband,
right,
their whole family, the Brunos, and they're right off from Italy. They have them every year when we go down there for Christmas. They come out of the oven. But I've never had one, no. I'm not a nut guy.
Yeah.
For some reason. I've never had one. They're pretty good, huh?
Well, it's an acquired taste. I'm not a big nut guy myself, although I'm a big nut. But I don't like a lot of these different types of nuts. But when they're roasted nice and they're piping hot, they're pretty good. You know, they're really nice to eat. It's kind of an Italian traditional thing. In the old days, they used to roast them with wood fires in a big pan. But you know, Dean's keeping that tradition alive. But yeah, you've got to be a nut guy. You've got to like them, and you know, they have to be roasted the right way, you know, in order for them to work out.
I think the Italian culture is a beautiful thing. When we go down there for the holidays, I mean, it's a 26-course meal. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Even anything, a cookout's a major meal, and it's nice, and it's a family situation. And I've had stuff. I've never had a bad meal down there. My daughter's a heck of a cook.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful people. Nunzio and Maria Bruno.
Right, right. Now, you grew up in the neighborhood where the car barn was, right? And you had all the, who was it?
Second house over the Leominster line.
All the Di Pasquales were up there. It was like another little Italian patch up there, wasn't it? There was quite a few Italians.
The Di Pasquales, it was all Italian. Spatafor. Tons of them. It was a big square. Princeton Street was Canavinos, and then Leominster Home Beverage, and then down the hill. In fact, where Kmart is, growing up, we used to walk up to where Kmart is. It was a swamp, and we'd ice skate at night and start a fire and hang around up there in the woods.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, a lot of people have moved into Leominster and don't know the old history. And when you tell them, oh, yeah, Searstown used to be a swamp down, or Whitney Field used to be a swamp, and, you know, the Kmart Plaza used to be a swamp, they say, what are you talking about? You know, how can it be a swamp? But there was a lot of swampland around back then, you know?
There was a lot of retail history in the car barn that you don't see today that was kept a lot of us kids employed. Dad's Roundup,
right,
which was a Hamburg joint.
Yep.
The place was mobbed, especially on weekends. And I used to peel potatoes. Eddie Isabel owned it. Him and his wife were the cooks.
Wow, wow. Did they have a French fry potato cutter that you put the thing in there?
A machine that would peel them.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who did the cutting, but I did the peeling with the machine and brought them in, and they did something to them. And I also pre-butted hot dog rolls.
Okay. Yep.
And then when we got through working there, everybody had a job in the car barn. The kids. That's why I bought my first car at 15. I saved my money. But the Fruit Growers Outlet, which is now the pool place across the street from Leominster Hyundai. That was Fruit Growers Outlet. I mean, you talk about traffic with people buying fruit and stuff.
Yeah.
My job there was to put on a coat in the middle of July and August, and I'd go in the freezer with a paring knife, and if any of the strawberries were starting to get fuzz on them, I'd cut it off and put them on the bottom of the crate.
Right, right.
And I got paid by the hour. And there was always something going on. You know, one of the first, Jordan Motors, which is now where Mart is, where my house was right next to us. He hired me in the dead of winter. This is public relations work now.
Right.
Sit on the sidewalk, and we started a little fire and make believe I was keeping warm because I was cold and it was August. And all he wanted people to do was look at me, and they'd see his cars that were for sale. And I did that for about 3 whole days.
Right.
And he paid me cash.
You know,
we had a lot of fun. No, the first Dairy Queen and the first Carvel was right there as well.
It was right there, yeah.
About 100 feet up from my house. And
then you had the fruit stand. Was the fruit stand in that area when you were growing up?
Yeah, that's what I was cutting the strawberries off of. That was right across the street from Route 200.
That was in the same location.
Yeah, same building.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Plosick.
Right.
They
Now-
did.
Now
I don't
you
know if
have-
anybody ever went there.
So you have Italian, your wife's Italian, right?
Oh, Torcoletti.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So did you guys do the 7 fish type of thing on Christmas Eve, or did you do any of that type of?
When I was dating my wife, the first Christmas Eve, we walked in the kitchen. I looked down. I goes, "What is that?" to myself. It was squid, and it was smelts,
Yeah.
and it was all the seventh. And I said, the mother, she said, "Madeline, would you like some smelts? I mean, some squid?" I goes, "You mean octopus?" She goes, "Yeah." I said, I don't think so. No, I'm all set, thanks." No way. No. They go down to Buc-ee's and get it. Boston Fish downtown.
That's
And,
another acquired taste, but it's this.
Oh, and then we had polenta on the board. And they had a board that covered the whole table.
Right.
And I'll never forget it. My father-in-law, Selmo, was all of 5 foot, and I was 6'3". He said, "Hey, you tall drink of water. Come over here." He handed me a wooden paddle. Stir that for about an hour for me, would you please? And I'd mix up the polenta and keep stirring, and then he'd pour it, and then the sauce would go on top of that. Then the sausage and the meatballs and the ribs and the chicken, and my God almighty.
Getting hungry. And those smells used to stay in your house right through the holidays, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got to understand, growing up at the Carbine, even though there were a bunch of Italians up in Roosevelt Avenue and Princeton Street, et cetera.
Right.
We were the pilgrims, so to speak, and I thought spaghetti came in a can. It was a different culture completely.
Yeah.
And then we go across the street down Battle Street.
Yeah.
And there's a pipe that ran across the Nashua River, and we'd shimmy across that and go down the airport to the circuses and whatever else was going on down there.
Right.
And we get out of that water. We were playing war one day, and a friend of mine had a real World War, real helmet from the Korean War. His brother-in-law was in it, and we were playing war games, and there was a brook running down through, so we decided we would drink out of the helmet like they did in the war. And we were sick for about 5 days, all of us, because the water was the drain from the paper company. But those things, and I'm going to leave with this one funny, you're going to love this story.
Yeah.
We're down in the woods off Battle Street, and I go, look, there's a car in the woods. And there was a small opening that would bring you out to Airport Road, but it was driven in. So we went over, and there's no number plates on it. Got a bunch of dents. The keys are in the ignition.
Wow.
My buddy says, "Do you think it'll start?" I said, "I don't know. Let me find out." I got in. Don't it start?
Wow.
But there was nothing on it. And then the windshield had a hole in it. So I still took it for a ride. So we're driving around the woods with it. And my buddy says to me, now there's 2 guys in the back seat, and there's 2 of us in the front, and I'm driving. And we're going pretty good clip. He says, "Look at those big bushes. Take out the bushes." I head for the bushes. Well, guess what's on the other side of the bushes? About a 10-foot drop. When we landed, everybody was in the front seat. And that's where we left the car.
Unbelievable, huh? What stories? We could go on forever, but I think I may have some guests. I hope I have some guests. I don't know if they're here yet. No, there's no guests here yet. All right, so anyway, we're going to have to take a break, but Art, it's been nice talking to you, and next week is the Santa show.
Okay.
So Dean will be talking to Santa next week, so... and we're having that show will start at 6:30 as opposed to 4. It's going to start at 6:30 p.m.
All right, thank you.
You'll have to tune in.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Nice talking to you, Art. All right, so we're going to take a little break right here, and we'll be back in 5 minutes, or maybe 2 minutes. Here we go. 5 minutes, okay.
comes with experience.
I love these scissors.
Yeah, see.
These, I'll give you this.
We have a little citation for you. I want to thank you for investing in our city, doing such a wonderful job, and providing a good service here. And we'll go inside in a minute, but we'll talk a little bit about where Wash, Dry, and Fold is located and what services they have here. Everybody thinks that just because you have a washer and dryer or laundry in your house that you don't need the services of a business like Wash, Dry, and Fold. And we're going to go inside and explain to you a little bit about some of the things that they can offer you that you didn't even know. So there you go. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about Wash, Dry, Fold. Give the address right down here at Leominster Plaza, but what's the official address?
285.
285
Central Street.
Central Street. They're right on the edge, right next to Papu's Pizza. And so, yeah, we will talk a little bit about why, what sort of services and what these machines can do that your machine can't do at home. How's that?
Sounds good. Yeah, so as you can see, this is pretty big. We can fit a king-size comforter in here where a lot of people can't do it at home, so they come here. We also wash regular clothes, everyday laundry.
Yes,
for
let's
people
get to
that
that,
don't have
because
time.
people have time, so they come down here to bring it here. You'll wash, dry it, fold it.
Yes. Bag it up nice, and they're happy to just go home and put it
Paradise.
away.
Yeah, well, you can't do everything today. There's
That's
just
right.
too much to do. And you can make those piles and everything, and they'll just get higher, and you can buy more clothes, and they'll get higher.
Yep.
But at some point, you need to take them and either do them yourself or bring them here. So is that a growing part of the business?
Yes.
The wash, dry, and
it's-
fold?
It's the reason why we bought the second location, because we just don't have room at our first location.
Right.
So we moved the wash and fold here and second laundromat. And
Wow, that's really good. Show us around. There's a lot of machines
Sure.
in here. A ton of machines.
my husband did a lot of the work
He
here.
did himself,
The-
yeah.
Himself, the floor,
It's nice to have them around.
Yeah, it is. That's why we keep them around.
Are these all brand-new machines?
These are
They're
brand new
beautiful,
machines,
yeah.
yes. These 30-pound machines are brand new. Like I said, we still have some of the old ones, but they work great because they're just,
Reconditioned and like brand new?
Yep.
A lot of times people have something big like a carpet or something that's washable, but you can't put them in. And that's
Yeah.
really, this is really where this comes in. These aren't your mother's washing machine. These are big commercial
Right.
washing machines with big motors. And
that's right, yep. And they use less water, so they're energy efficient. You use less soap.
sometimes people's machines break down, especially
Yes.
now where it's hard to get a machine, right? You want to go down and get one. It's like, you used to be able to go down and get a machine and deliver it the next day. Now they're like, well,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
exactly have that machine, but we'll get you one.
Right,
So
right.
sometimes people are down, have people visiting. This
Yes.
place is huge.
People go on vacation, they come back with loads of laundry because they want to get caught up because they have so much.
Obviously, security is always a big deal for people, and
Yes.
they want to feel safe. A young lady comes in, and then it's, gets dark at 4:30 today. Tell us a little bit about the safety part of this.
Well, we have lights that stay on all night. We have cameras, many cameras. We don't leave money at night here overnight, so it's pretty safe. We think it's pretty safe.
Well, it's beautiful in here. It's immaculate. It smells good.
Thank you.
It smells
We
good.
clean and clean and clean.
And you have a little hand sink for people. And what are your hours?
So it's 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the self-service, and for the wash and fold, we're doing it now Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we have a couple of nights now we've added.
Wow, see, it
because
is a big business.
people want to pick up after work, so
Right.
we have Thursdays and Fridays from 6:30 to 9 o'clock.
I can't think of anything
Close up.
better than leaving your laundry off somewhere, coming back
I'm telling you
the
that.
next day, and it's all done for $1 a pound. That's like the greatest deal in the world.
I know.
There are certain things in life we'll pay for,
There are.
and
There
that's
If
sounds
it's a
like
chore
one.
that you absolutely don't want to do, or you
Right.
don't have time to do it, they come to us, and after they come once and they realize, what, that only cost me $20 to do that,
Right.
I can come back
20
again.
bucks, that's it? Do you know how much pain you eliminated from my life and stress?
Yes,
And not to mention, you've eliminated the piles
right.
at my house that
Definitely.
I had all over the place. Well, thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
So we're right down here at Leominster Plaza, next to Papu's Pizza, and right on the road, right on the street.
Oh, Hello. We're back on the air. Did you see all those nice clips we did? Now, that was done by the LTV staff, those videos. And we try to cover all the ribbon cuttings and grand openings, anything we can. We try to cover that to bring them to you so that you can see them in the comfort of your home and watch them on demand and play them over and over again and see what's going on in the city of Leominster. And speaking of which, we now have a guest in the studio that's going to fill us in on what's happening this coming Sunday at City Hall.
Carl, we've also got a caller.
Okay. We have a caller that I think we're going to get to first before we get to our guest. This is all new to me, you know. I'm trying to be dean, and it's tough. You know, live TV, it's hard. Okay. Who's on the phone?
Yeah.
Caller, are you there?
Yes, I have my Christmas list, and I'd like to read it off.
Hey, Dean, Bradley, can you give me some volume on the speaker in here? For the hearing impaired?
How's that?
Oh, that's better. Thank you.
We'll blow you out of the studio.
So, Dean, how you doing? How are my chestnuts? Are you roasting my chestnuts at home?
Well, we're probably going to do them in a couple of weeks. We'll do them downtown. I haven't decided where yet, but we're going to do them. And and so hello and good evening.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, going in and out of volume here. Hold on a sec.
I am. All right.
Trying to figure this out.
Can you get any closer?
All right. Well, I have good reception, so it should be good.
Bradley,
Anyway,
is the sound okay in the control room or no?
It sounds like he's far away from his phone. You can make sure he's holding it up to his mouth.
Yeah, are you holding it up to your mouth there, Dean?
No, I haven't got earbuds. Let me try it. How's that? Is that any better at all?
That's a little better.
All right. Let's
Just
try
talk as
that.
loud as you can. I'll let you go. You're on. Go.
All right. Well, anyway, this is an outstanding weekend because it's all centered around music. And so Friday and Saturday night is that new new orchestra, right? The North Central Mass
Yes.
Symphony.
Yep.
And they're going to be performing at City Hall on Friday night and Saturday night. And,
Right.
And it's a big deal. I mean, this is their first time performing here. And then on Sunday is the Colonial Band at 2.
That's correct.
And as soon as that's over, the Salisbury Singers are going to be performing over at St. Cecilia's.
Right.
So this is quite a weekend for music.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church, Leominster Seventh-day Adventist Church up on Union Street. Every year I go to their holiday prelude, and that's going to be, I think that starts around 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. And so it's quite a weekend, and very exciting. You know, the Colonial Band, I mean, this is you get one shot at it, right? The Colonial Band, then you got to watch it on LTV. So
That's right. Plenty of entertainment. Yep.
So do you have guests today? You have John?
Yes, I
your
do.
brother on?
John and Steve are getting mic'd as we speak. Steve is, I don't know where Steve is, but we're going to start talking to them in 1 second.
Yeah, and this is tradition to have the Colonial Band perform. This is like, you know, once in a year. People get very excited, and the neat part of this is they've made the event absolutely free. So thanks for filling in for me tonight. I'll let you get to your guest.
Okay.
And we'll talk soon. I'll see you next week for Santa, right?
Okay, yes, and save some chestnuts for me. All right.
Yep. All right.
I'll talk to you. All right, bye.
Yep.
All right, that was Dean on the phone, live from his kitchen, or somewhere. All right, so now we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the Leominster Colonial Band concert, which is on Sunday, this coming Sunday, December 12th, starting at 2 p.m. And right now we have the Leominster Colonial Band manager, John DeCicco, longtime Colonial Band manager. John, welcome.
Thank you, Kyle.
How are
Great to
you?
be here. Terrific.
That's good.
Always a pleasure.
For those of you that care about this stuff, you can see John and I are distant here. We're a good 8-10 feet away, and we got our masks. So we keep protected here at LTV. We want to make sure everybody stays healthy, and we can continue to bring you good programming. Anyway, John, can you fill us in a little bit about, first of all, the Colonial Band? Leominster Colonial Band is the town band that, with the longest lasting town band in Leominster, started in 1910, correct?
That is correct, yes. 113 years strong, consecutive years, I might add, even through the pandemic. We were very fortunate a year ago during the summertime to be able to actually accomplish a few concerts. So we didn't break the streak, the long-standing streak, which was a big thing, both for the community, certainly trying to have something a little more positive and uplifting during the height of the pandemic, and certainly for the musicians and the band. And it was quite a challenge. Not going to say it wasn't, but your brother and myself, Steve Piermarini, our conductor, we just decided that we were going to do it. If it was at all possible, we were going to try to make that happen. Unfortunately, of course, because this particular concert is an indoor event, that wasn't possible to do last year as far as continuing the streak of the holiday concert that we are going to revive this year, proudly. This is the 31st performance of this concert. I think what really makes this special, besides the time of the year and the tradition that it has become, it's special for the band because this idea of holding a holiday concert was conceived by a former member of the band many, many years ago, back in 1989, as a matter of fact, when this all started. And Frank Barber was a long-time member. I know, Carl, you were a member of the band performing with Frank back in that time period. And at the time, it was, the band was known for, of course, its summer series. I mean, that's what this band has always been known for, is performing in the park and, keeping that tradition. But Frank, approached myself and Steve at the time. We were kind of in the leadership positions by that point, and said, it's kind of a shame. The band kind of gets on kicking on all cylinders at the end of August when we finish up our summer concerts, and yet we just don't have an outlet. It's such a long break between times of performing, and it seems kind of like we're wasting our ability and our talent. And he said, what do you think of the idea of starting a Christmas show? Putting on something in the wintertime when traditionally the band would never be performing, and let's do it. And the idea was born literally at that point in time, and it came to fruition in 1989. Sadly, Frank was not with us at that time. He passed just a few months short of the time when we actually inaugurated this concert. But we like to think that he's looking down and smiling pretty brightly, because he was a very jolly man himself, very, very, outgoing personality. And he really loved the band. He loved to play music. It was his avocation. He was a pharmacist by profession here in Leominster. He had his own pharmacy right over in the French Hill section of Leominster. Yep. But it's kind of he's kind of a microcosm of this band anyway, because we have people from all walks of life in the community, all professional people who music is their passion. We also are blessed to have many professional musicians as well, where it's become their full-time avocation. It's not their avocation, it's their full-time job. And, that just blends the best of, in my opinion, the best of both worlds from the standpoint of the musicians you see on the stage and the people you see performing for you. And certainly, last but not least, the most important thing about the Colonial Band is the fact that all of our predecessors, and I say our predecessors as in myself and Steve being the conductor, myself being the manager, have worked diligently in that over that 100+ year span to make sure that not only the concerts happen, but most importantly that the concerts are free to the public. Right. Through a whole series of exercises and grant writing, and the fact that our band is a professional band and it's made up of members of the American Federation of Musicians, which allows us to tap into some much-needed funding through a program called the Music Performance Trust Fund that's been around. I was going to ask you where that extra funding comes from. It's been around for so many years. It started in the 1940s. It was negotiated as part of with the recording industry at the time, when recordings were just starting to happen, and how the impact of recordings was going to be on the professional musicians, of course. Once records became something nuanced, that meant that maybe there wouldn't be as many live performances. Right. And so the Musicians Union negotiated with the record companies and said, it's great that we have recordings, and we know this is the wave of the future, but we also want to make sure that the masses can have access to live performance, and free. That's the most important thing, free. because not everybody can, frankly, go out and fork over $20 or $50 for a ticket. And that doesn't mean that the performers on that stage don't deserve to be paid or don't deserve that, remuneration.
Yeah.
But it's about access, and music is one of those things that is universal. We want to make it accessible to everybody. And as I say, between the Music Performance Trust Fund over the decades that we've been involved with that, fortunately, the Massachusetts Cultural Council was born many years ago here in Massachusetts, which accesses a small portion of the Arts Lottery money. And through the auspices of a local cultural council here in Leominster, we've been very fortunate. They've been extremely supportive of both our summer concert series and now our holiday concert. And that's what makes it happen. I mean, that's what really makes it happen. And it allows us to, again, continue the tradition, keep it a live performance, a free performance, most importantly. And along with, we certainly can't leave out our benefactors. There are so many people, our loyal audience members, who make those whatever donation they can make, $10, $20. Sometimes people think, oh, it's all the big people that make it happen. No, it's really not. No. It's all those small donations. Believe me, they really add up, and that's what's making these kinds of programs possible. Yeah. They really are, because there are a lot of ancillary expenses beyond just paying the musicians. Right. The grants we get cover the cost of musicians, but in order to make everything free at our performances, it's those donations that make the difference. And it also keeps our library growing, because you need funding to keep the music, to make that music change. And we're blessed to have not only a history of having a huge library of music, but Steve has built upon that because of the monies that we have available, or he has access to.
So through music sales and audio, CDs, LPs, whatever, a tiny percentage of that goes into this Music Performance Trust Fund.
That's correct. Union. Yeah, and recently, within the last couple of years, of course, as we all know, the trend in media is changing all the time.
It sure is.
And so, initially, again, this was negotiated in the 1940s when we were talking about records, LPs. And even though there's vinyl now, making resurgence, it's not to the level, of course, of recording. Right. And we live in a digital age.
It is.
So in the last negotiations just a couple of years ago, fortunately, the professional musicians were able to negotiate with the recording industry and say, look, obviously, we're not selling CDs in the format, we're not selling that format any longer, or LPs. It's not enough for an income. We need to get into the streaming market. Right. We need to get into, the current day technology, and our members need access to those funds. Yep. So that was negotiated, both with the recording industry and the motion picture industry. And so the fund has been revived, because it was sinking, frankly. It was dropping. The revenues, of course, were dropping on what it was originally negotiated on, and they couldn't tap into the new technology. Right. So now that's changed, and there's been a huge resurgence. In fact, matter of fact, there's been over $1 million increase in the Music Performance Trust Fund monies that are available across the entire country, as well as the U.S. Well, it's actually the U.S. and Canada, because we have a Canadian arm of our association. So
you're probably wondering how John knows so much about the Musicians Union. He's president of a local 173 here.
Yes.
Which covers which cities and towns?
Well, of course, the major cities here in the Montechusett area: Leominster, Fitchburg, Lunenburg, Gardner, Winchendon. We have a few outliers just over the line in New Hampshire, Jaffrey, Ringe, that area. Yep. So we span a pretty good area. Yep. We're not a huge local, but we're probably one of the most active locals. Believe it or not, during the pandemic, we're pretty proud of the fact that our local in the state of Massachusetts, because this money is allocated by states through the Music Performance Trust Fund. And last year, during the pandemic, we were only second to the Boston Musicians local as far as the money that we accessed. And we were only one of 2 locals that were able to access the money and do performances. So it was us and the Boston Musicians local. So we're pretty proud of that, because and then across the country, of course, it was even more dire in some places. They weren't able to do anything. Right. So it's kind of like a rebuilding year for the Music Performance Trust Fund, as far as trying to get programs back up and running again, and getting access, so people have access to live performance, again, for free. And that is a requirement. If you take this money, you cannot charge an admission price.
right.
And we have no problem with that whatsoever because, again, the combination of Music Performance Trust Fund money and the local cultural council money and our benefactors is keeping us status quo as far as being able to do performances.
Now let's talk a little bit about the preparation you do. I'm not talking about the music, which Steve takes care of,
Right.
but the preparation you do to bring a concert like this together. What's involved in the setup in the whole 9 yards?
Well, logistically, I mean, I'm technically the manager of the band.
Right.
I'm also the president of the band. But in a managerial standpoint, my job is to put the best musicians on that stage. So Steve has the people and the personnel he needs to do the performances, perform the music that he wants to do for any concert, whether it be the summer concerts or this concert. But in this concert, it sometimes can be a little more challenging, only because we are able to, and it's a good thing, because we're able to use a larger band, simply because we have a little more space at City Hall on the stage than we do at the gazebo at Carter Park. Although we're continuing to expand our band, even though we're really tight at Carter Park presently. But at City Hall, and for this type of performance and the music that Steve needs to put out there for our audience, we expand our percussion section dramatically. Okay. So even though this year we were able to expand our percussion section by 1 at Carter Park with the addition of some new instruments that we were able to purchase, for this concert we have 4 percussionists. Yep. So it really allows us to bring out all the balance of the percussion that is written in those particular pieces that we're performing. And it's just wonderful to have. I mean, as far as musicians are concerned, the more is the merrier, you know that. And so we're able to, bring on more people. It's great. It's wonderful. That's the fun part. And that's, frankly, the easy part. I mean, at one time when I first started managing the band, it was a little more difficult to sometimes coordinate and get everybody on the same place at the same time. But nowadays, I'll tell you that people who have to turn down this engagement are heartbroken, frankly, because they enjoy it so much. They get so much. I mean, I can't tell you how much the musicians get out of performing for this particular concert.
Right.
I know the audience obviously enjoys it, but I think sometimes the audience just doesn't realize just how exciting and how exhilarating it is for the musicians that are on that stage to be able to perform, because this is what they love doing. I mean, musicians don't show up, and certainly not in this band, they don't show up for the money.
Right.
There's no question about that. They're not there for the paycheck. They are there to entertain, and they want to put their best foot forward all the time, and they feed off the energy of the audience. There's no question about it. It brings out the best in everybody we have on that stage. And beyond the musicians and getting that together, of course, there's always logistics as far as, the basic stuff, the rudimentary things of
how many chairs.
Make sure, putting the chairs on the stage, taking the chairs off the stage, getting some decorations up, coordinating and getting refreshments in place. But we're really blessed because we have a cadre of people who, volunteer and get into cookie baking mode for literally a week at a time to make sure that we have not only refreshments there, but more importantly, they're free.
Right.
And you can't beat homemade refreshments.
No, you can't.
The price of admission is free, and everything else is free. And I also want to put a shout out real quick, since I'm talking about refreshments, and I want to thank Aroma Joe's here in Leominster, Johnny Ahern. He's come forward now. This is his second time being a sponsor and also donating all the coffee.
Nice.
So that's all free. And so if you really want a great cup of coffee,
there you go.
Along
free
with
music,
along
free
with
coffee.
Italian cookies, homemade baked Italian cookies.
You can't go wrong.
Need to be at City Hall at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, and you won't be disappointed.
For those of you just tuning in, you see a special person that just flew in and ran onto the set.
Gee, my arm's tired.
And his hands are tied because he's just been writing manuscripts of music at home, and the ink is still fresh, and you're going to hear this on Sunday when you come to the concert at City Hall.
My apologies for being late.
Don't worry about it.
But I never knew the mayor looked so much like me.
Well, he wears a toupee. You know, this is the way it really is.
Au natural.
So welcome, Steve.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So we covered all the bases. We covered everything but music.
That's right.
So we
Saved
saved
the
that
best.
the
Right up my
best
alley.
for you.
Saved the
So
best.
now the program starts at 2 p.m.
Yes.
City Hall. Great venue, by the way. The acoustics are beautiful in there. It's a little tight for the band, but it's okay. You know, we squeeze in there. So what do you have on tap for this year for music?
Well, we were trying to program a concert that would celebrate the fact that, you know, this is kind of a reunion, if you will,
Yep.
you know, getting back into it after,
Yep.
you know, the whole pandemic thing. And, you know, the band being away from the Christmas concert, we didn't get to have it last year.
Right.
So, you know, we tried to focus on kind of uplifting music.
Yes.
And so we're going to open with a piece entitled, I can tell you who wrote it, Jubilant Holiday.
Right.
And it's Sean O'Loughlin is the composer, and it's based on the ancient carol In Dulce Jubilo, which is, people know it popularly as Good Christian Men Rejoice. And he did a wonderful job of creating it into a real composition.
Is this a new piece you haven't performed for Christmas before, or you don't
No,
know?
it is new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
new.
can't
I'm
recall
pretty
if
sure.
we've done it before.
It's new.
If we did, it was
long time ago, yeah.
long enough
Yeah.
ago that people don't remember it.
That's right.
And I don't even remember the title, so there you go. And we'll be doing Gershwin's An American in Paris, which
yeah.
is one of my favorite
Nice
pieces to do.
arrangement,
Love Gershwin's music. We'll be doing a Bach piece entitled Aria, known more popularly by it's the chorale When Thou Art Near.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful lyrical piece that gets to show off the band's, you know, more quiet side. And what else in the first half? We're going to open. I said that we were opening with Jubilant Holiday.
Right.
That's not right. We're opening with Alfred Reed's A Festival Prelude,
Okay.
which is another favorite of mine. Alfred Reed was one of the great American composers. A lot of people don't know about him because his output was mostly done for concert band. So, you know, the composers who get a lot of the recognition are the ones who write for orchestra, of course. Right. Concert band genre kind of gets swept under the rug. But there are some wonderful composers writing wonderful music for that, and Alfred Reed is one of them. He's passed away, but this is one that he wrote, I believe, in the early 60s, around 1962. And it's a real strong opener.
That's good.
Really get people's
Wake
attention.
people up.
Wake them up.
That's it.
So yeah, and then in the second half, we specialize in the feature the holiday-themed music.
Right.
So we'll open with Leroy Anderson's Sleigh Ride.
Good. That's a classic. You have to do that.
Well, it's a great way to get people back in their seats after all of that wonderful refreshments.
Right.
And we'll be doing a piece to honor the late great Sammy Nestico. Sammy Nestico is another American composer, arranger, known mostly for his work with artists like Tony Tennille and Frank Sinatra. He wrote for mostly for the Count Basie Orchestra. Right. But Nestico did a lot of writing for school bands, school jazz ensembles, and school concert bands. You remember? Yeah. And we remember playing that music in high school. And a lot of people out there who played in concert bands or jazz ensembles.
Sammy Nestico.
They played Sammy Nestico's music. They may not have remembered the name or realized it, but besides all of that music that Sammy did, he wrote, like I said, for years, he wrote 7 or 8 albums for the Count Basie Band. Yeah. But what he did anonymously was writing for television and film. Right. He was the ghostwriter for so many great Hollywood composers, Mancini, Billy May, Nelson Riddle, even John Williams. When they have a big assignment and they can't get it all done, or they can sketch the outline, but don't have time to orchestrate it for 50 or 60 musicians. That's when people like Sammy Nestico come in.
And that's a huge part of creating an arrangement, making it sound a certain way. You're trying to make it sound like the person that you're writing for.
Exactly.
For Henry Mancini or whoever. So, yeah.
And he was a master of that. And but when he wrote his own music, it sounds very characteristically Nestico.
Right.
So we'll be doing an arrangement that he did called A Fireside Christmas, which features Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman, a Christmas song, chestnuts roasting. And we've got a couple other medleys like that. One's called A Yuletide Christmas by John Moss, which has Here We Go, a caroling, and a couple of other tunes. And another one called A Showstoppin' Christmas by Chris Sharp, which has Jingle Bells, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, and Angels You Have Heard on High. We'll be doing an arrangement of Cantique de Noël, which is O Holy Night. So there'll be lots of holiday music in the second half.
That's good.
Not to mention an appearance by Kris Kringle himself, who's promised us he'll be here for an appearance.
Nice.
He'll be here for intermission. He always comes in right after, right before the first half ends.
He walks around, meets all the kiddies.
He'll have candy canes for everybody. Young and old.
So the concert again starts at 2 p.m. this coming Sunday at Leominster City Hall, the municipal building of Leominster.
That's right.
The John R. Tater Auditorium. And there's plenty of seating in there on the floor and the balcony. There's plenty of room. What kind of an audience do you get every year? Do you have an idea of numbers?
Oh, we usually draw close to 200 people for the concert. That's pretty much been the running average. Of course, I know there's probably some people in our audience that are still concerned about the COVID, and we should be. I mean, we're not. I want people to understand that we're not just thinking, well, everything's fine, and especially with this being an indoor event, some people might be a little hesitant about the safety. But I want to reassure them of a couple of things. First of all, our entire band has been fully vaccinated since prior to our summer concerts. It was basically decided that if we were going to do that summer concert series, especially where we're literally sitting elbow to elbow like Steve and I are here tonight on a bandstand, that we wanted to protect everybody in our organization. And going forward here, everybody has been continuing to keep current with their vaccinations to make sure that we're in a safe environment. And to that end, as far as our public and hopefully people who want to come to this concert for their sense of safety, the city is making available. There'll be disposable masks there.
Good.
So if you forget your mask and you want to wear a mask, it'll be available to you. There's hand sanitizer stations right there inside the auditorium and before you come into the auditorium.
Good.
So the city is providing all the necessary protections, if you will, to make people not just, and certainly not to give people a sense of false security, but I'm saying to make things safe as humanly possible. And as you mentioned, one nice thing about the facility is there's plenty of seating, so people can easily spread out. You don't have to sit contact like this unless you're with somebody that you're normally in contact with, even with a mask. So there's I just want to encourage people that yes, you're entering a very safe environment. In fact, for the refreshments, what we're doing to make it take one step, and put people at ease, is that traditionally we would normally have all the cookies there, and it would be kind of like a buffet style that you'd walk through and grab and go. What we're doing this time, for everybody's protection, is
we're putting more rum in the rum balls.
No, no, everything will be individually prepackaged. Now, it's still homemade, so I don't want you to think we're not going out and getting store-bought stuff. But it's going to be prepackaged. It's all going to be sealed, so that it'll be literally a grab and go. You'll be able to go through the line, grab your traditional cookies, grab yourself a cup of coffee, relax, enjoy intermission, and then get ready to be
Okay,
entertained.
so who are the saints that are putting all these cookies in bags for you?
Well, I was working with my mom today, actually, making some of the cookies that are going to be there. My mother is involved in this. The two, they're not Bichellias, they're Bichellias, but they're married, and they've been married a long time. But Lauren Bichelia Infantino,
Yep.
and Kathy Bichelia Miller.
Yep.
Are also participating and have been. They're keeping their side of the family tradition alive, because when their mom was involved, Rena,
Right.
she was right there baking cookies day and night, just like my mother's been doing. And this has become a part of a tradition too, because this whole thing about having the free refreshments started when we went to City Hall,
Right.
when this process moved to City Hall back
Yep.
20 plus years ago now. Prior to that, our other hosts at the Italian Cultural Center used to provide the refreshments.
Right.
And our very first host, what's now the Hilton in Leominster, which was formerly the Sheraton when it first opened, that's where we first did our performance in 1989. They used to provide the refreshments. So our family members have taken over the mantra of trying to keep that tradition alive, of having something
great.
nice and free. And as I say, we're taking that one extra step to try to make sure that people are comfortable. They're not going to be worried about, there's a whole
Right.
bunch of people that have been touching this, or did somebody put their hand on this before I did, type thing.
Right.
So it'll be hopefully well organized, and go off without a hitch, and everybody will enjoy some fresh goodies.
So I want you to notice he used the word mantra and earlier the word cadre.
Ooh.
So he gets, is there a duck that comes down for those words?
No, there should be.
You have to be a certain age.
In
to-
Leominster, it's a flamingo that comes down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Flamingo,
that's right. Yeah,
pink flamingo.
works. Yeah.
But the question I was going to ask is, you guys have been doing the Christmas concert for how many years, you say? 20?
Well, this is 30. This is the 31st.
31st.
And of course, we had to skip last year. So we're
So-
still going to call it an annual, because as far as we're concerned, we've got the track record on this.
What
So we're
is
going to call
one of
it
your
that.
most favorite memories of concerts over the years that you remember that stands out as a whatever?
Well,
a
I
marker?
can tell you one that struck me just the other day.
Yep.
I was going through some old pictures, and I saw a picture from the very first Christmas concert of our son,
Yep.
who was, I think, 1 or 1.5, I
Right,
guess,
right.
Yeah.
at the time. And I was going through pictures over the years,
Seeing-
and realizing that he was 1.5 when he came to the very first concert, and he'll be there Sunday with his wife.
Right.
His 30s.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's multi-generation people that are
absolutely.
attending these
Yeah, I know there
concerts.
are.
Yeah.
So
Oh, definitely.
it's amazing.
As there are in our band.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I know earlier, prior to Steve getting here, we were talking about, kind of the history of the band, which is so vast, and, we'd have to do 5 programs to put it all in. But,
Right.
just a real snippet of it. I mean, that's really something. I know, Kyle, you asked the question, what's unique or what's different? Well, the thing that is unique is not just the age of the band or the longevity of the band here in the city and its, established base here, but it's truly, the family connections, the
Right.
lineages of families that have gone through this band.
Right.
When I look out at the rehearsal the other night, and I look at different performers, and I'm of course hiring these people and bringing them on the band
Right.
right along, and I'm looking at children of people who when Steve and I first joined the
right.
band over 45 years ago, it was their parents that were performing with us.
Right.
And now it's their children, but they're adult children. They started out as children like Steve and I did, frankly, as teenagers in the band. And now they're all adults, grown adults. And so that's the thing that, when you talk about what makes a difference,
Right.
how do you set yourself apart as an organization or as a group, and how,
Right.
we looking back on what kind of an impact you think you've made by having something like this. I think that says it all. It just speaks volumes, that we have that continuity, we have that attachment, and that's why when you hear these people performing for you, you're hearing not only the best of the best in the area, but again, as I said earlier, these folks are genuinely excited
Yeah.
to be out there performing
Right.
and plying their trade.
It's a passion.
There
Yeah,
is.
there's
There's
passion
absolutely a
that they
passion,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the time we got to wrap this up, but
Yep.
so 31st annual Christmas concert, Leominster Colonial Band, this coming Sunday, December 12th, starts at 2 p.m. What time do you think? People
Usually
should-
runs about 2 to 4.
Okay,
That's-
2
yeah.
to 4.
And as the
people
mayor said,
get
I know there's a
there-
program going on at St. Cecilia's, and
Right.
you should have time to check down there. If
That's
you really,
right, and
if
go
you
to
want to
the other-
overload yourself with great music and
Right.
great performers,
Right.
I encourage you to go down, and right after ours, you can make a beeline and straight down Mechanic Street, and you can be at a
So-
concert, another concert.
This concert here, folks, is free. It's free. You walk in, you get a seat, you listen to great music and nice refreshments during halftime. It's wonderful. Bring the whole family. You're going to love it. It's something that you shouldn't miss. It's part of Leominster tradition, and you got to see it. Anything you want to say in closing, guys?
I do want to mention real quick
Sure.
about the venue, because we talked about City Hall very briefly,
Yep.
but we'd really be remiss if we didn't point out that this venue is absolutely spectacular.
It is.
If you have not been to City Hall in the last 16 years that the Festival of Trees
That's right,
has
Festival of
been, has
Trees. How
been
could I
in
forget?
existence,
Right.
you are missing out.
Yep.
You need to come. If for nothing else, even if you're not a big music fan, come spend half hour there, and you will feel like you've walked back in time. You will, if you weren't in the holiday spirit when you walked in the door, I guarantee you, not only for the price of admission for our concert, but for the Festival of Tree price of admission, which is also free, you will walk out with a whole renewed sense of spirit. And especially during these difficult times and all the things that we lost last year during this time of the year,
Right.
I mean, I can't think of anything more uplifting than walking into that venue and just being enveloped with what's there. And I'll tell you, our musicians, every year since that Festival of Trees has existed, when they walk in just for rehearsal night, they just can't believe it, because they come from all over the
Right,
region.
right.
And there's nothing like this
No, there isn't.
duplicated anywhere around the whole
isn't.
area.
Right.
Nothing. There's nothing
You're right.
that compares to that Festival of Trees. And the musicians always comment to me, they would comment to me on Monday night at our rehearsal. You know, it's just every year, of course, the Festival of Trees has also grown
Right.
in size. And it's just absolutely spectacular.
Well, I have to sign off, but thank you both for coming.
Thank you, Cal.
And I hope you get I'm sure you'll get a big crowd on
I'm
Sunday.
sure we will. We're looking forward to it.
LTV will be there. We'll be shooting it for further future broadcast. But I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, folks, I'm not going to tell you Dean's slogan. That's not me. But this one is, time waits for no man. Don't forget that. We'll see you later, and see you next week for the Santa Show next week, starting at 6:30. See you then.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by Landmark Self-Storage in Leominster. www.landmarkselfstorage.com